Hello, we are coming to you live from Upvisor. There you go. Now you can see the full Upvisor logo. My name is Christine, and I am coming to you today as the final session of our Excel live training closes out for the month of July. And in the month of July, we've been talking about all things Excel, like things such as pivot tables and if functions and VLOOKUPs and freeze panes and format painter, and there's just been a whole lot of things. So if you have missed out on any of our sessions that we have been doing during the month of July, go back to our IGTV and you'll be able to find all of them there. But there are also videos uploaded on YouTube. So if you want to check out our YouTube channel, you'll be able to find our Excel stuff nicely summarized there. And you will also be able to find some of our hashtag Finance Friday sessions, which has also been really interesting. And just while I wait for a few more people to join, I just wanted to let you know that August will be the month. Hello everyone. August will be the month of productivity, and I'm super excited about that, and I think there's going to be lots of interesting topics there. For example, the first one will be all about battling the email monster, because that happens, right? And it happens a lot, and sometimes we just get so overwhelmed with everything that's happening on our emails, and we just want to close it down. I can totally relate. So if you want to learn a bit more about how to overcome that monster, come tune in next week, same time. And then we'll also be looking at a few things about distraction control and just managing your time well and efficiently. And it's just setting up to be a super exciting week or month ahead for August. So do tune in. But what I said that we would be doing today is to allow you the opportunity to ask me questions live and to potentially come on live as well if you feel up to it, and to ask me some of your Excel questions. And this is now, instead of coming to attend a 2 or 3 day long session of training, you just get to ask me specific questions that you are battling with at the moment. So I think Titi had some questions that she wanted to ask us, so maybe when she joins in the chat just now, if you would like to jump on the call, you are able to just say that you would like to join the live video, and then I will add you, and then we can chat about your Excel concerns. So I think she had a question. Benevolence, I don't know if you have any questions, but we'll just hang around here a little bit and wait for some people to ask us some questions. And in the meantime, I will entertain you with some dancing. Hi, Ignatius. Thank you for joining us. Ignatius, I know that you had some questions, so I will just add you onto our call right now. And while we're just waiting for Ignatius to join from Brina Production. So Ignatius is joining us all the way from Kenya, which is super exciting. Hi Ignatius, how are you?
Fine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, and we can see your video, so that's awesome.
Yes.
Ignatius, quickly introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. I know you're from Brina Production, but tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit more about yourself.
All right, my name is Ignatius. I am from Brina Production. It is based in Kenya. We are a digital marketing firm with IT. So we use IT to solve some of the incurring or consistent digital marketing problems. So we also do web design, we do photography, we create content for companies and organizations. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's basically in a nutshell, yes.
Wonderful. It's so nice to have you here. And I've been chatting to Ignatius over the last few months during lockdown, and we've even had an interview together, which was rad. So definitely go check us out on SoundCloud as well. You can go check out our interview there. But Ignatius, the reason why you are here today is to ask us some Excel questions. So do you have any questions for me?
I have a few.
Sure.
First, I want to learn how to pivot tables. I want to be able to make Excel sheets like for simple petty cash, and I want to be able to pivot tables, and I want to be able to have all that reflect concurrently without me changing table by table by table.
Awesome. Yes, I'm with you.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we covered the topic of pivot table in a lot of detail in 2 videos ago, so you can definitely go check it out in more detail. But what I really like about pivot tables is that it allows us to dynamically arrange our data. So it really is quite simple. If you think about, like, basically what you would go select all of your content. So if you think about where all your tables are at the moment, go select everything, including your headings specifically. That's very important. And make sure that
slowly I'm taking notes.
Sure, that's fine. Notes are good because then we remember, right?
Yes. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Proceed.
so you go highlight everything, including your headings, and make sure that you, for each of your columns must have a heading. It's important for them not to be blank columns. Okay.
Okay.
And then your next step will be, yes.
Question. So if the headings are similar, will I have a problem?
What Excel will do is it will allocate a number to it. So if you have duplicated headings, it'll say, for example, you've got two that say sales. It'll say sales 1 and sales 2. So it will differentiate, which helps.
Okay.
Then your next step will be to go on your ribbon at the top. So you've got file, then you go to the insert ribbon. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see there's the option to insert a pivot table. You go click there. And then what it'll do is bring up a little selection pane just to check that you're happy with the cells that you have selected. And you'll say, I want to create it on a new worksheet. All the default settings are normally fine. Say OK. And we'll create a worksheet that has now a new field pane on the right-hand side that allows you to do your pivot table. So what you do with the field panes there on the right is to now go drag in the fields that you're wanting to see in your pivot table. So there are 4 areas that you can drag it into. There's a filter, and then there are columns and rows.
What? The second? I didn't get the second one.
The second one was columns.
Columns. And then?
Rows. Number 3, rows.
And 4.
4 was values.
All right. Thank you.
So values is where you would do all of the calculations. So your number fields you would put in there. So if you have your sales, for example, you would put your sales in value. It'll do a sum calculation or average, or you can count items there too. And with your rows, columns, basically all they are doing is they're saying where your information is going to go. So if, for example, you're summarizing by customer, okay, then you'll put your customers into the rows field, and it will just list all of them as underneath one another, as opposed to if you're wanting to see, maybe you want to see customers and you want to see it by month, then you can put your month into the column section, and that will list all of your columns next to all of your months. Okay. So now you can see for that customer, that specific month, that was the total sales based on the values.
Okay. So is there a way? Sorry.
That's fine.
You're hearing me? I'm asking, is there like a way where, is there a field in Excel where I can actually type what I want? Because, you know, I understand a bit about programming. So can like select 1, 2, 3, 4 from, and then order by, group by. Can I do that in Excel?
You can do that in Excel, yes. Pivot tables make it really easy to be able to do that, but you don't need any coding. So if you write your pivot table, if you want to see by customer and by country, for example, maybe I want to see country first and then by customer. Then the only thing I'll do is I'll put my field for my country in first into my row section, and then underneath that, my customer. So then it automatically starts grouping it. It allows you to filter as well. If you want to filter for a specific field, you're able to do that. But yeah, just playing around with that structure allows you to group the information differently. If you're wanting to combine different columns, you can even do that in your underlying data. So maybe if you want to take sales plus that plus anything else, you could do that in your underlying data just using a normal sum function. Or you also have the option to use calculated fields, which is a little bit closer to the coding that you're talking about now, where it takes the fields that are currently in the pivot table and it starts manipulating some of those, the numbers specifically. And it will allow us to create new fields based on the functions that we've built into the calculated fields.
So wait, I have one last question. So if I have like a function inside like a field, I have a field, let's say total sales, and I pick sales from, say, I take videography sales, photography sales, and I sum them into a field that I want to call sales. So what happens if, for example, in the photography field, I add another row, and I add, let's say, Christine has paid 500 US dollars. So what happens is that the sum will go up, right?
Yes.
That in effect, on the pivot table, the total sales now able again reflect and go up.
Correct.
Is that what happens?
Yes, that is mostly correct. What we just need to make sure that we do, the changes that you've indicated now would be happening in your underlying data. So that table you selected initially, right? So that changes.
Yes.
Where tables are slightly different from normal formulas and functions, which automatically update. Pivot tables, you have to add to refresh. So you'll see that there's right click and refresh, and then that new line will be brought. So you can have marketing sales plus website sales plus whatever else, and with pivot table it allows you in grand totals to basically get to the total sales at the end. But if you want to, you maybe have 5 different categories of sales, but you want to combine Facebook and YouTube sales, for example. Stupid examples, but if you only want to combine those two and not everything, what you can then do is to use the calculated fields option to just say, I want to take this field plus that field and give it a new name. So maybe that will be your marketing sales, for example, but you still have others as well.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Cool. Any other questions before you jump?
For now, no, not really.
Awesome. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does help. I've taken some notes. I will try, and in case I'm not able to finish, I will get back to you.
Of course, you can always do that. Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll chat.
All right, thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Ignatius.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, thank you. I hope that was insightful for the others on our call today here as well. And I think what Ignatius has asked is a very relevant point, and it just goes to show how much Excel can do for us without actually needing to understand coding, because it's just as simple as dragging and dropping, right? So I'm really excited about Excel, and I think it's a really powerful tool. So we do still have a few other people on the call. So if you would like to join the chat and ask me any specific questions, you are welcome to request to join the live video, and I will then answer your question. Okay, so if you would like to pop something in the chat, if you have any questions, or would just like to come online, you're welcome to do that. Thanks, Benevolence. I'm happy to hear that it is insightful and helpful. Just a reminder, we did do a detailed session on pivot tables 2 weeks ago, so definitely go check that one out. Okay, cool. So we've got Titi joining us now. Just waiting for her to join. So very excited. And then let's see what she has to ask us. Hey Titi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thanks to you.
This has been really helpful. Thank you so much. Excel is such a nightmare.
I know the feeling. But that's why we have sessions like this, right? To learn a bit more.
Yeah, I actually have questions about data analysis.
Okay.
And how that's done. I like researching, and I'm doing my thesis right now. So at some point, I'm going to have to do data analysis and presentation, but that gives me problems, and I don't know how to really go about it.
Okay, sure. So I guess it depends on what type of data you have. What are you hoping that the outcome would be? Are you looking for a table, or are you looking for a chart, or are you just looking to understand what your data is telling you?
I think all of them. I'm looking to understand the data, and I'm looking to understand how to present it.
I'm with you.
It's in health. So let's say I collect data in health, and now I need to group it according to like places and the figures, ages, and the health conditions and everything. And then now I get analyzed. So I have to do it manually, aside to say I start by like manually sorting out my data, and then I enter it, or Excel can do that for me.
Excel can do that to a large degree, and I would definitely recommend pivot tables for you too, because basically what the pivot table allows you to do is to just drag in all of the fields that you want, and then very quickly, just based on the change in the filter that you've got, it will automatically push out a new table, which makes it really easy. And pivot tables are also very nicely presentable. Like, they've got nice formatting, which is awesome. So you can easily just do copy and paste from there. But over and above all of those things, you can also create a pivot chart. So if you think about a normal chart where you've been able to see bars maybe and a pie chart, if there's quite a lot of detailed information that you would like to use within your pivot table, you can then link that pivot table to a pivot chart, which then means anything you change in your pivot table will automatically affect your pivot chart, which is really cool. So it makes it really nice and dynamic. So anytime I change my filter on my pivot table, it affects my pivot chart. And the same goes both directions.
So that's using the pivot table is way easier to analyze data than using the cells.
Definitely, I would say so, because it allows you to group the information in a very dynamic way. So it's much easier than saying, okay, I want to now go filter firstly for all of the locations, and then maybe now I need to try and see who is a nurse, and the next one is like, how many patients have they seen, and I'm only wanting to look at everything more than 5 or something like that. And the number of times that you have to now change that filter, if you just had a normal range of data, it becomes exponential in comparison to how easily you would be able to see it in a pivot table. For example, if I use that same example that I've had now, if I have my location first and then my position or the role that they fulfill, the nurse or the doctor or whatever, I can have all of that information next to each other, and I don't even need to filter, because it'll then group it based on the location first. So maybe Port Elizabeth, and then Cape Town, and then Joburg, and then next to it you'll be able to see the roles of each person in that region. So it becomes much faster, and then you can obviously just go filter for Port Elizabeth if you want that, and then copy and paste that into your report. But just because of the way that it's dynamically structured, it makes it much easier to be able to identify trends and groupings, and just to see what is actually happening in your data. Does that make sense?
It does. It actually really does. It actually does. And what if there's like, it's multiple information? Can I analyze it at once, or I have to do everything individually and then combine?
It depends on the type of information that you've got. I'm assuming you mean like it's in different tables or different sets of information?
Yes, it's different sources of information.
Okay, so if the different sources have the same common factors, so for example, you've done 3 surveys and they've all given you the result of location, role, and number of patients, then yes, you can definitely group them. Maybe what I would suggest is add in an extra column where you indicate where the information came from, so what the source is. And then based on that, you can then even go down into more detail and say, oh, okay, for this source where I got the information from, this survey number 1, for example, these were the results that came through, versus source number 2 gave me slightly different results. But if I look at it overall, it gives me a different averaged picture, if that makes sense. So yeah, it does depend on what your information is, but you should be able to combine it definitely.
And if it has calculations, I'm sorry, I'm asking too many questions.
No.
And calculations. So let's say the information that I've gathered has calculations, and I'm trying to have maybe calculations done for one piece of information. Let's just say I'm looking for patients with a certain condition and the average according to location. And then I also want to present that data in graphs or charts and everything. So do I have to do like the calculations first and then present it later, or you can also do that at the same time?
You should be able to do it at the same time, because the information draws from one another, right? So if you think about your chart is pulling from a different set of information. So if this set of information changes based on your formulas and things like that, the chart will automatically update according to that information. So you should be able to do them at the same time. If I think about a pivot table, it's still fine. You would build up your underlying data, add in all of the formulas that you want, you create your pivot table, but then if something changes, you can just go refresh your pivot table. Even if there's more information that comes in, you just change the range of your pivot table. So it does make it really easy from that perspective. But Excel is really flexible in terms of not needing to worry about doing one thing first and then the next thing. Maybe there are some steps, but because of the way that things are linked, it makes it easy to just refresh automatically based on the changes in your information.
So it will have to be two different sheets, or like can sheets, information from sheets be combined? Can sheets share information?
Sheets can share information, yes, which is really nice. So even if you have your underlying data on sheet number 1, you can have your chart on sheet number 1, or you can put it on sheet number 2, or on an entirely different sheet altogether. But your information from sheet number 1 can link to information on sheet number 2 as well, and that's where relationships start coming in, right? So if I think about some of the sheets that I've set up, I'll maybe have an assumptions sheet right at the beginning, and I'll put in things like, you know, the pricing, or VAT percentages, or whatever the case might be, like even the business name, if I know that it's going to be linked in on multiple places. Then in each of the next sheets that I'm building, it keeps referring back to those assumptions. And so in that way, I'm only putting it in once, and I'm referring back to it. So I'm saving a lot of time as I build it up through the rest of my workbook. So there's a lot of dynamic interaction. Might want to also go check out the one that I did where I spoke about VLOOKUPs, which really allows you to do a lot of cross-pollination between sheets and workbooks even. Like, it doesn't even have to just be in your workbook that you're working in at the moment. You can link out to something else externally altogether too, which is really great.
Okay, that's clear.
Awesome.
You've answered so far. You've answered almost all the questions that I had, because it was mainly about data analysis and the presentation that was giving me a bit of a headache. But
I'm with you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe just to summarize what I've mentioned, I would probably say the end result of your data analysis that you're going to be presenting in your report would probably end up being a chart of some sort, and then potentially having a little bit more detail in a table indicating that this is the underlying data. So it all just depends on what sort of information you're presenting. But I would probably say for thesis, having a chart as one of your end results will probably be one of the key points, because it's much more visually dynamic, right? And we can understand a chart much easier than we would a table. So use a table as supplementary information, but try and end up with a chart as much as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much. You've been really helpful.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Thanks so much for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome. That was really cool. I'm loving how relevant pivot tables are. Pivot tables are the bee's knees if you know how to use them well. So thank you so much, Tsitsi, for joining us. Those were really awesome questions. And I will allow, let's see how we're doing on time. We're at 1:20. If there are any more questions, please do just request to join the video. I would happily answer your questions, and hopefully you're even just learning from the other people that have been asking questions, just in terms of what's working for them, what isn't working, and what they are struggling with. So I'll give a few more moments just if anyone else would like to ask a question. And just while we're waiting for anyone else to ask, in the meantime, just remember, during August, we will be speaking about productivity, and next week will be all about overcoming or battling the email monster, so do tune in for that. Remember, Thursdays at 1 p.m. on Instagram is all about productivity. So Excel was the month of July, and then next month, we'll be looking at more general productivity hacks. And if you would like to join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Facebook, we will be talking about financial stuff for #Finance Friday. And we are going to be speaking about using routines in our business to be able to make sure that we are utilizing our time effectively. So during August, there's going to be a little bit of overlap in terms of Finance Friday and the productivity on on Instagram. So do make sure that you aren't missing out on any of those. And then one more thing on Excel, we will be having an intermediate training session coming up in the month of August, mid-August. So if you are keen to learn about things like VLOOKUP and if functions and using tables and all of those sort of things, do make sure you tune in for one of those sessions. It will still be online, so even if you're not in Port Elizabeth, you can still join in. We'll be doing it over over Zoom. Awesome, Tsitsi, that'll be great. So definitely check us out over there. And then tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow, we are closing out the opportunity for you to access our free webinars that we did during June and July, where we spoke about income statements, cash flow management, budgets, expense management, all sorts of things like that. And after tomorrow, the doors will close to join as a founding member and lock in your subscription fee of 200 Rand per month to be able to get fantastic value-added information to upskill yourself in your business, but not just have a content session, also have the opportunity to be put on the hot seats, just like we've done today, where I coach you through some of those questions that you might have as a result of the webinar. So if you have not accessed any of our free stuff by the end of tomorrow, that is very sad because then you will have to pay for those 3 introductory webinars, and the monthly membership fee will also jump up to 250. But the sooner you sign up, the sooner or the more money you'll save, because you will lock in that subscription price for the duration of your subscription. So for any uninterrupted subscription, you get to either pay 200 Rand per month or 250, and we will be gradually increasing the prices as we go. So do check that out. And I will ask Benevolence to just pop a link in the comments if you would like to find any of our webinars that we did. But other than that, it has been a pleasure hosting you. I'll just give one more final call if anyone would like to jump on and ask any questions. But it's been really awesome chatting to you guys and just answering some of your questions. I'm so happy that this month of Excel has been productive for you guys and that it has saved you some time. And I'm looking forward to just carrying on this journey of productivity with you. So I think that's it from me for today. So I'll see you tomorrow on Facebook, 1 p.m. Otherwise, I will see you here again next week, Thursday, same time, same place, and we'll be talking all about emails. So I will see you then. Thank you so much for joining us. Christine Tadot from Upvisor, and we're all about unlocking your potential. Until next time, bye-bye.